I have with me the glorious, fabulous, smart, interesting, talented, gorgeous, and fun, like the easiest smile I've ever seen, Cellina Munro. I don't think she was ready for me to say all that. I see her face right now. If you guys watch us on YouTube, you'll see her reaction. But I'm so glad you said yes to coming on the podcast. So thank
Thank
you.
you for having me. I feel honored, especially with that wonderful intro. I'm like, who are you talking about?
Please, you know, it's interesting. This morning I
Great.
was listening to the radio, and it's Black History Month, and on the radio there's this program that I watch called The Takeaway. I listen to on the radio, and they have a program right now. It's called Black, Queer, and Rising, and there was a Black trans politician on the show, and she was talking about the first time she went into the voting booth, and she went with her mother to vote, and she goes, "There is such a great power in voting for yourself." And I was like, wow. I just thought about how, although we don't have to all be politicians, but how often we might cop out on the idea of voting for ourselves. And so I wanted that to feel like a big vote for you at the beginning of the call today. So I hope that makes sense to you when they say that way. I just like, we need to vote for ourselves. I thought that's such a good idea, right?
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you. For said, that's my vote for Cellina today. So Cellina, we got a lot of votes because you were reaching out to representation and you got 10 requests for meetings. And I would love for you to just walk us through, tell us the story of like, did you get a manager? Did you get an agent? Where are you at right now? Tell us the journey of how it happened for you.
Well, I
Wait,
have a manager.
before that, where are you? First of all, where are you? Everybody needs a little bit of backstory. Tell us like, where are you? Tell us a little bit about like your journey to being an actor. I jumped right in because I'm so excited about this. Let me pause, slow my roll over here, right? Tell us a little about where you are and a little bit of your story as an actor so we understand.
Sure. Right now I'm currently in Chicago. I've been here, excuse me, since the start of the pandemic, to be with family. And so we're not originally from here. It's funny. My brother went to school here. My parents came in to visit and then didn't leave. So this is where they are now.
So you did
But
not grow up in Chicago, is what you're saying? What I'm hearing you say?
yeah,
No, okay,
not grew up in Chicago, but I love it. I love it. It's all Chi-Town people. I love it. But I'm originally from the DC area, and I studied had a completely different corporate job, went to school for something completely different, advertising. So I have a degree in advertising. So I did marketing advertising for quite a few years. And then I ended up trying to get free hair care products and ended ended up at a
wait, what does that even mean? I worked in advertising and I ended up trying to get, what does that even mean? Tell me what that means.
So when you see the video, if you happen to watch the video, I have a lot of hair. I have enough hair for 3 people. So I figured if I can get free hair care products by modeling or what have you, then that's great. That's half of the budget for doing hair. And so I signed up to a talent agency.
Right.
And long story, very, very short, I ended up remembering that acting was my passion, that being in front of the camera.
Cellina, that's so beautiful. Like that, I just love you said remembering. That's so beautiful. So just real quick, little Cellina, when was she first? What was her first acting job? Was she in 3rd grade, like pageant or something?
Absolutely. I had in my mind, I was a movie star. I'd had no acting jobs whatsoever. But
I love it.
It was always something I really enjoyed, but didn't know like, oh, this is like a living. Like I knew people on TV were people, but like not really. Like they were far away, like at a distance. So yeah.
And wait, and anyone else in your family an actor? Sorry to interrupt. I want to just
that is
right. Isn't that always the case? None of us come from these dynasties of actors.
Okay. So I'm an adult now, and I realized, oh, this is a real job. So I went to the talent showcase, went to school for it in New York, and then I happened to stay in New York for about 7 years. And now, at the end of this month, I'll be moving to LA. So,
I didn't even know that. That's so exciting. Is this your first? Will this be your first time in LA?
Yes, first time in LA.
Okay, great. So if I have your permission and your consent, I'd love to, if we need a little coaching towards the end of this call, to talk about just kind of prepping you for arrival here. Is that an okay conversation for us to have later?
Please. Oh my, please.
Okay.
Please.
Great.
I need all the help.
Okay, great. I cannot wait to help you with that. So tell everybody the journey for your representation. What happened most recent representation that you've landed?
The most recent representation that I've landed is with a manager. That's what I wanted. Okay. I wanted a manager, and hopefully that manager could guide me into how to, not how, but like can find the right pieces of different agents so that we can be a team.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah. Yeah.
collaborative. That's what I was looking for a manager. I'd been looking for representation since I started acting, so like 7 years. And this is, I had when I did this process, I had about 4 offers right away, immediately, even before I got off the call or out of the meeting. We were
Like
talking
in the meeting, you had in the room offers.
all 4 of them. They were like, one person was, we were having the meeting maybe 10 minutes in. They're like, okay. I was like, yeah, I'm freelancing with someone for 30 days. They're like, that's fine. I'm just going to send you the contract for you to look over, and then I'll get in touch with you, blah, blah, blah. And then another time I told someone, we were in a meeting. They're like, okay, can you send me your actor's access link? So he's looking at it, or we're on the phone. He's like, okay, well, just go ahead and put my agency name in there. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. All of them were like signed right now while I'm on the phone with you. And I was like, okay, chill.
So, Cellina, how did that feel to have that experience?
It was very eye-opening for me, because it was like, people have in this process have said it before, that they're selling themselves to you, but it made me realize they're just as human as I am, and they're like, they want to be picked too. They want to be
Wow.
picked as just as much as I do. And so it's like, it really starts to become a collaboration, because
Beautiful.
when you go to job interviews for, any day job or what have you, it's like, I work for you, and this is kind of like, we work together. And I wasn't used to that, of being
Yeah.
in the side by side seat. And it's wonderful. It really
Yeah.
is. It's great. And so
And so
it was sorry.
No, you keep going.
And to take away that pressure of like, please pick me, it's relieving.
Got it. Tell me, so how did you used to think about agents and managers? Because you said it was 7 years without representation. Like, what was your old ways of trying to reach out? Were there other ways you were trying? Had you been trying to find representation in the past? What
Yep,
ways did you
absolutely.
try?
I can't tell you how many showcases I've been to.
How much money did you spend?
Off everything included, over $10,000 easily. Easy.
On showcases and stuff?
Oh, absolutely.
Cellina, I just want to pull that money back from the universe and give it back to you. You know what I believe? I believe that the energy you have beautifully brought to this process is going to come back to you in the jobs that you book. That's what I'm believing. The energy was you putting in the work in some way. I don't want to wish that for everybody. I want to make sure that isn't what that sounds like, but wow, that's a lot. Yeah.
That's why I'm happy you asked me on this podcast. Like, do not spend $10,000. But yes. Just like easy 10,000. Sending out emails, super boring emails compared to now. So boring.
I would love to read one of your boring emails.
Oh my gosh, so boring. Like my experiences in corporate field, I can write a corporate email so quickly. It'll be the best one ever, but that's not a person. And I learned that you have to be a person as well. So
I want everyone, I want to be full transparency to everyone who's listening. So Cellina obviously was one of my students inside of my Agent Goals program, but what I'm wanting everyone to just hear is how maybe the old approach and just the idea that maybe there's a different way of doing this. Hopefully you can hear yourself in some of the story that she's sharing today. So showcases were the way of the past, that you gave up on that. And so you moved through this process. You got 10. So here's what I was curious about. You said you got 10 requests for meetings and you went to 4. Did you bail on the 6? Did you say hell no, or what happened with those?
It was a little bit of both. Like, some of them fell to the wayside. Some of them I was kind of like, I found my representation. Thank you so much.
Great.
But there was a lot more interest, more than 10. Like, if I had continued to follow up with the conversation, I'm pretty sure they would have asked for emails. Wow. I mean, sorry, meetings.
Meetings, great. Yeah, awesome.
Meetings.
So you were like, I'm good. I've got it. My shopping cart is full. I don't need to keep shopping. Is what I'm hearing. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, because my philosophy was always quality, not quantity.
Beautiful.
I couldn't. I heard other people who, I don't know how they had 30 meetings. Yeah. There's no. Emotionally, I can't handle that. I was like,
I mean, she would say she'd end a Zoom and get into another one. She was like one after another. I was like, wow, that is wild,
that's right? Insane.
Yes. So what one part of the whole Agent Goals process would you say helped you the most?
I knew you were going to ask this. And
Uh-oh, did you dread it or were you looking forward to it?
I was like, I can't pick one because there are 2 and they're so equally...
I'll give you 2. I'll permit 2.
Okay. I would say the first one is the accountability group that I was a part of.
Yeah.
um, we just the checking in all the time. We still check in to
Good.
with each other still to this day, and it's
Good.
not always about agent goals. It's like, oh, like I felt sick last night, and it's just like
Yes.
life stuff. It's
Yes.
great. That really helped me because sometimes when I was slipping, and then I'll get an email, be like, oh, accountability group. But thank God,
Yep.
because like I
Right.
needed that. I needed it.
Yes.
Like I was responsible for my work. Um, and the this is really interesting. I don't know what it's called. The mantra, the pledge, affirmation,
The pledge.
the pledge. Yes, I say that every day. I said it every day.
Oh,
I
wow.
still say it every day.
Wow.
That helps me so much. Because even when I don't feel like saying it, I don't feel like I'm a person. I'm a human, so I don't feel like doing it one day,
Yeah.
whatever. But the next day, I'm like, thank God I said it. Like you know, just it's just so consistent. It just keeps me consistent, and it's a reminder that um why we're doing it,
Mm,
why we're doing it,
yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah, it's just nice.
Yeah. And what I hear you saying in that also is like sometimes as we get into the business piece, we can get distance from why we're an actor in the first place. Or that
Right.
remembering you said you had at the beginning of this conversation. You said, like, I remembered that acting is something
Hmm.
that I love, right? So wait, I
Right.
have a quick sidebar question. Is your family supportive and excited about the fact that you're doing this and have a manager and all this stuff?
Yes, they're very supportive now.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, it wasn't that they weren't supportive. It was just like, what do you do? Like, we don't know what this is. Like, we
Exactly.
don't know how to
Yes.
support you.
Yes, I think a lot of actors, a lot of parents and families, unless they've, like I said, unless you're a dynasty of actors, often is like, so wait, you're going to become an outlaw? Like, I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that looks like, that career. Unless you're on TV, then I believe you're not successful. Like, I have no idea that that's possible. Is that kind of the education? Have you given them an education, do you feel like, at this point?
Yes, and it's funny you mentioned that because with the pandemic, I stayed with them for the holidays, and I have all this equipment, and I need help with self tape, so they're my reader now, and so
Yeah.
they get it. They're like, "This is a lot of work," but this when they're reading scripts, so they understand it. So it's been a
Yeah.
blessing in disguise, really. They're like, "I understand. I get what you're doing now. I
Wow, that is
understand
such a
it."
wild, I never heard anyone say it in that way before, and I think that's a really important thing to say. Like, there is a blessing in disguise when your mom has to read for you, right? There's like some like this is what I have to do every time I do this, right? And can you
Mhm.
just not say that in that funny voice for me? Can you just say it nice and flat? No need to act, mom, right?
Yes, yes.
What would you say you learned about yourself in this process?
Oh wow, I didn't know you were gonna ask this. About myself. I would say I learned that being a whole person is just as important, or showing and being a whole person is just as important as being a professional person.
Say more. People are going to be really wondering what that means to them. Tell them what that means. Yeah.
When I feel like when you have your 9 to 5, whether that's in an office or you're faced with customers or you're on the phone all the time, there is a certain projection that we give of like, I'm doing my job, I'm really good at this, da, 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 da. And that they don't really know you, which is fine because that's your job, is to do your
No one wants to
job.
get to know the person who's fixing their phone at T-Mobile. Thank you very much. I mean, we
Exactly.
can be kind, but I'm saying like I
Mhm.
do not need to know about your mom right now. I really just wish my phone was working or something. Yes. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Right.
And this process has helped show me like you can bring all of yourself, your whole self into it, and you can show it too. And
Mm,
that's kind of what you want. You want a relationship to a certain, still professional,
right.
but you want the person that you're working with to know that you're a person.
Yeah.
And once they know you're a person, you can appreciate that they are a person too.
Yeah.
And that has been really important to me. That's why I think I do the pledge or the mantra, or I say it
Whatever you
every
call it, it's
day.
working. Great. Yes.
Affirmation. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. We
I
call it
say
the
it.
pledge in the program. You call it
Yeah.
whatever you want in your life, as long as it's working. That's what I care
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
I say
Yeah.
that every day because it's just kind of a reminder like we are people and we are creative and we do all these things and we're working together, just
Yeah.
have a little more grace, be a little bit more forgiving, and
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
fun.
what I hear and what you're saying is that you really learned how to like take the transaction part out of
Yeah,
the relationship. And
that's
I
it.
can see when you're putting in a lot of money on a showcase, it almost like insists that you think about the transaction. I never thought of you're blowing my mind today, actually, Selena, all these new thoughts because I never thought about how the act of putting money down for a showcase inherently imbues whatever that relationship might become with some kind of transactional energy, unless you really do a lot of self work and really like this money is energy and da 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 da. And like I think after you've done quite a few, it might be hard to keep up the, like you've said, like you've leaned into the pledge to keep you centered around the actions that you've taken. But I could see how plunking money down for showcase after showcase can bring a transactional quality to what is the manager agent meant to do. So tell us about, like, what are you excited about with this new manager? How's it going?
It's going great. It
Yeah.
really is better than I ever could have thought.
That makes me so
I,
happy.
I'm, you happy? I'm just ecstatic
Yeah.
because it's like I'd never. When I was in the meeting with him, it's kind of like, we have the castability things, or
Hmm.
like, how do you see me? Where do you see my career going? What have you? He said exactly what I always thought. Because for me,
Oh.
I always I always feel like I needed representation to get auditions,
Mhm.
but I was always told you can't get auditions unless you have representation, and I'd be like, okay, how do I do that? And they'll just repeat themselves, so it's like
Yeah,
a
it's a
cycle.
big cycle, and I could just slap everyone whoever says that, and I just want to goodbye. Let's not listen to that advice from 1998 anymore.
Right. Right. So he was like, I s- this is where I see your career going. And it matched up exactly with where I saw it. It wasn't like, oh, you don't have any credits, which I don't. I don't have any TV credits. It's like, you don't have any TV credits, so you can only go this far.
Yeah.
I'm only gonna submit you for this because you don't have, or you only have XYZ. He was like, this is where I see you going, like way down here. This is how we need to get there. And it was,
Beautiful.
I didn't have to mention it to him, but that's what I always thought.
Got it.
And then when I met with other people, they had a different type of strategy, which I'm sure works well, but it wasn't what I always felt would work the best.
So
What
did
I always
that
saw,
moment,
envisioned.
right?
Hmm.
Did that moment give you the, like, ah, this is probably my guy. This is probably my person.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
beautiful. And what I also
Hmm.
love that you're saying is, like, it was good that you got multiple meetings, because then you got to go, he fell more into that pocket of, yeah, that's probably him, because now I'm seeing what else is. It's like you got to go look at, I've never bought a house, but one day, please, fingers crossed, right? You got to look at a few houses to find your house, right? You got to go in
Yeah.
kiss a few frogs before you find your prince, right? So like a little bit of, like, it
Yes.
helped to have a couple, maybe they weren't even bad, they weren't bad managers, but just not the right
No,
match
they
for
were
you. So
good.
that's
Yeah,
great.
they were
Yeah,
all very good managers. Yeah.
that's
Just not the
awesome.
right
That's awesome.
fit.
Right. And uh and this manager supportive of your big move?
Oh yeah. And then because
Oh
he's
yeah,
also
that was
like,
easy. Okay.
that's easy. Because that was another thing that was kind of like it could have been an issue because I'm in Chicago right now. I
Right.
reached out to representation only in LA, and so there's some advice of like, don't move, don't reach out until you get there, and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
of
yeah,
those
yeah.
things. And but I also have a base in New York as well, so I could be bi-coastal. But I was like, I don't have the brain power to reach out to both right now.
Got it.
So I reached out to ones in LA. He happened to be bi-coastal, and he's like, "Where are you right now?" I'm in Chicago. He's like, "Oh, it's fine. Everything's self-tape anyway." Like,
Oh, we love that. Everyone just feel inspired by that. If you're an actor who is concerned that you've decided to be home during the pandemic, or you're in the Southeast and you want to work in LA, I just want you to hear how there are reps out there who are not worried about it. And just there are ones who are. And they're
there are, yeah,
allowed to have their own individual experience. And so what it just means to me, I know I say this a million times in the program, is we only need one who aligns with what you want, right? So taking out, you said, like, I want quantity, I want quality, not quantity.
mhm,
And sometimes I think that one of the, you know, the way you're not set up to win inside of a showcase is there are 6 or 8 particular managers or agents on that night that might be the one, right? Like, who knows if they're the ones who are going to be the good match for you, right? And so
right.
it's such a small little microcosm of the number of managers and agents that are out there. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's so incredible. And you had a really great successful, like, when you were sending your emails, you had a 64% open rate on your
Yes.
emails. So that's
Yes.
really dang good. That means this lady knows how
Oh.
to write a subject line, I would just say. And then the other thing that you mentioned that I was just looking here is, um, you had 8% of the people who you emailed responded. And I think
Yes.
a lot of, so we talk a lot about how to deal with the responses inside of this
Mhm.
program. What was it like to hear back from people when it wasn't a let's meet or something? Can you tell me a little about that? Like when it was like a no or a not right now or any of those kind of responses. What was that like for you?
Yeah. Actually, it wasn't that bad because we do so much work on uh so much self work in the program. So the day you send out the emails, I went to a coffee shop. Okay, I'm a little dramatic. They have flowers there. So I bought myself flowers, like the whole
Yes!
thing.
Oh!
Like I made it a
Are you
thing.
kidding? That is like what I want people to do. Wait, tell us about the thing you made. So the day you sent emails, walk us through because wait, let me give them a setup, okay?
Yeah, sure,
So
sure.
actors, here's what the day you send emails, I don't think actors realize this, but each email you send has a tiny wish from your heart that like this might be the person, and we don't anticipate that taking some degree of like self-care when you click that send.
Yeah.
That is a lot of putting yourself out there. And we tend to think of putting yourself out there as well when I go to the meeting or when I go to the audition. But actually, that is a vulnerable moment. So I just walk us through how you set yourself up to really take care of yourself on that day.
Yeah, and what's wonderful is that the people in the program, I had a few of them email me the morning of because they knew I was sending it out that day, and they're like, "Just sending you like good energy. Take care of yourself." And I was like, "You know what? You're right. I am gonna take care of myself. Thank you." And so I sent the email, went to the coffee shop, got really relaxed, got some flowers. I still have the dried petals anyway, the
Oh, I love
potpourri
it.
now.
I love it.
I
You love
sprayed
it.
them.
Good.
And just really chilled out on my phone, but I didn't look, the way it's set up, you can't really check your emails on your phone. It's like a
Correct.
separate account. So I just got in touch with people, friends, and
You were a person that day. You weren't
I
just
was
an
a
actor that day.
complete
What I'm hearing you
person.
say is I took really good care of myself and I didn't make it my sole focus. It wasn't the
Oh,
only event in the day.
no,
And
absolutely not.
I want to just make sure everyone hears what you just said because we kind of dropped a little bit of the secret there, and I want everyone to hear this because I think it's an important. One is you're not allowed to check that email on your phone because we can so unconsciously react to emails that we get. We're not conscious or mindful about it, and so we have to be really careful. You're putting yourself out that much. You're not going to say like, "I'm standing naked in the middle of Times Square. I please shoot your arrows at me," right? And I
Yeah,
think that's what you're saying if you're not being conscious around your email because someone could say, you could get a million dipshit responses in an email that say like, why did you send me this email? Or who do
yeah.
you think you are? You said you didn't have any of that experiences, which is great.
No,
Good,
I
good, good, good.
didn't. Surprisingly, I had all really, if they were no's, they were all really kind no's. It's like,
Right.
no, we're not, fit right now, or like, we wish you all the best. And so, all of these things. And you send out quite a bit of emails.
Yeah.
So I got quite a bit of no's right in the beginning, like
Right.
because they were just not a fit. Even
Yeah.
the ones that were honest, I had one manager. She said, "You're great, but you're a split between my one client, so and so and so and so," and she named them, and I was like,
Oh, wow.
"Let me just go on her roster and see
Yeah.
who
She
they are."
wouldn't have told you their names if that wasn't worth it to her. Yeah. I think that's cool. And did you feel like you really were?
Yeah, I went on the roster and I was like, "Dang, she's a good manager." Like it was like not looks
Wow.
wise, but like essence wise, exact split. And I was like, okay, so when I hear that you're not a fit for the roster, like it can be
It
truthful.
can
It's
be
not a
true,
cop
yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I always say that when people say you're not a fit for the roster, we do have to give it a little bit of a grain of salt of like they might just be giving you that answer because it's the
yeah,
easy answer. But then when someone is really explicit that way, I always say we have to relate to in that manager's individual experience, they have to have a certain number on their roster, and that's the way that they need to work. There are
yeah,
some managers who don't relate to the number of people on their roster in that way. So we sometimes just bring that baggage to the conversation. Like, why are you thinking about how big my roster is? That's not your business. That's my
hmm
business. So I'd love that she was so explicit with
yeah,
how she said that too. That's great. And through all of this, you're moving to LA. So were you in New York before? That's right, right? Is that where it was?
yeah. I was in New York
Right.
before.
Got it.
Yeah, I was
And
in New
so
York before.
so you're
Sorry,
you're laying tracks in LA right now.
laying tracks in LA.
So
Oh,
you've
and
been
I
doing
forgot this part. I forgot this
okay,
part.
wait.
Sorry, sorry.
No.
The so I got a bunch of no's. I got
Yes.
one no from someone, and then my manager now, he's the an hour later from the same company. I just saw the same signature. He responded with, "Oh, let's set up a meeting," and I'm
Wow.
thinking to myself, "Oh, I'll have the meeting, but it's not going to happen if so and so told me no."
Hmm.
But come to find out, he was the perfect fit. So,
Got it. So two different people from the same company.
yep,
That is such a good thing to hear because I think a lot of people will be afraid of, can I reach out to more than one person at the same company? Am I a jerk if I reach out to one? But like you said, it was like
yeah,
within the same day. I think it can get weird. This is when I think this is a little bit of a note to self, everyone. If you reach out to a management company and they say no, and 2 days later you reach out to someone else at the management company, but it's 2 days later, to me, it feels a little bit like, did you not get my colleague's email, but because you were reaching out in the same moment, it made it a little bit easier to transact in that way. So that it's in the good kind of transacting,
Yeah.
communicating in that way where like I'm not like trying to sneak around the corner because he said no to me. Right.
Right.
Beautiful. So good. So is there anything else about this process that you would want someone to know, that they need to know about how this went for you, or what you learned about yourself, or what was helpful for you?
Mm. I would say, mm, do all of the steps. And, okay, I would say this is what I would say. I'm a very cynical person. I feel like, just tell me how to write the email so I can just do it. You know, like I don't need to do all this self help. I don't know why people are taking 9 months to do it. Like, just write the email. Like, I would say feel like that. You can feel like that. Still do all the steps. Like still do it. Because I definitely felt like that. I was like, oh, they're so dramatic actors. Oh, just write it. But then at the end, it's so helpful because recently I had to write a thank you note. A thank you note to someone, and that's those old feelings start coming up. Like, oh my gosh, are they gonna accept it? And I was like, oh yeah, remember that one time when I sent 900 something emails? Oh yeah, send. Like it's so easy. Like
Yes.
those that experience gave me so much more confidence to like do the easy things, which
Yeah.
should be like to send a thank you. Just say thank you. It's
Yeah.
not a big deal.
Right. And Cellina,
You
what I
know?
hear you, I love what you're saying, because I hear what you're saying is through this process, I identified or I grew a strength in myself that I didn't know that I had. And now when the little stuff comes, I'm like, Cellina, why are you sweating it? Let's just do this. Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason to get worried here. Like you've done this before. So there's a muscle that can work now. Or I would say like
Yeah.
in yoga, like you've got a pose, you can bind that pose now. You've already done that pose before, whatever. So,
Exactly.
if any, so I love that advice to anyone, like to do the steps even if you're cynical, and I think that's really important. I think cynical is one of the best. Actors need to be cynical a little bit when it comes to spending money in time, energy. I really believe
Mm-hmm.
that, because not everything works for everyone. Let's be very aware of that, and there's no right way to do everything.
Yeah.
So through your cynicism or skepticism, I think is a way that we use our smarts. Sometimes our skepticism is smart. So I think sometimes people can like not like their own skepticism. And I'm like, go ahead, go ahead. And like do it anyway is the part that you said that I think is
Do it
so important.
anyway.
Like do it anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I could even imagine someone who's like hearing this right now or hearing one of the other stories say, yeah, well, that worked for her because and then making you special.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that. To be very, very honest, I don't know how I came across this program. I was like, oh, okay, fine. Super shiny. Advertising was colorful. I was like, okay, I'm in advertising. I get it. You got caught my attention. So I went to I did I think you had like I don't even know what to call it. It was just like a group meeting explaining
Uh-huh.
presentation on what
Yeah.
the program was. And I was like, all right, he sounds like he knows what he's doing, but I'm not gonna do it. So I didn't do it. I didn't. And then he came back around 6 months later. I don't know how. And then I watched it again, and I was like, oh, he's saying the same things. He's kind of consistent. I think this might actually work, maybe. And I still have all the feelings. And then I joined. I joined 6 months later.
Uh-huh.
And then the first meeting, I was like, okay, he's still saying the same things. All right, I'll do it. Like I'll do what he's saying. So it was it was like, oh, it's wholehearted. Like, no, I'm a very skeptical person, but like, still go through all the steps,
Oh, I
and you'll
love
be
it.
surprised and so thankful
Oh,
that you did it.
thank you for saying that. So and I
Thank you,
love that
Brian.
journey too. Oh, I love, so what's funny is the other day I was saying, I'm starting not to know any actors who don't have representation anymore, because I'm
That's
like, if someone
awesome.
doesn't have their representation, I go, what do you mean? Let's do it. Let's come on. Let's go.
Yeah,
We can do it. Like it's not a
yeah.
thing, right? So if anyone's listening who's like tried really hard or spent a lot of money or knocking their head up against the wall, I really encourage you to look at Selena's experience here. So I want to talk to you a little bit about LA because I want to give you a little bit of help. Can
Sure.
we do that
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
second?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Please.
first time living in LA, right?
Yes.
And are you doing any workshops with LA casting directors now? Are you starting that
Yes.
at all? Great.
Yes. Virtually. Yes.
And are you choosing them, or are you talking to your manager about who to choose?
I did have a meeting with my manager, and he went through a list, but I think all of those casting directors, most of them aren't holding workshops.
Got
So
it.
I'm just going through and I'm picking people and then letting him know who I met
Great.
with.
Great. I want to add a couple pieces to this puzzle if I can. Is that
Sure.
okay?
Please.
So great. You're doing exactly the right thing. What I would do is try to find casting directors. You're probably doing this already, but just making sure, who are casting shows you're right for, obviously. And Does your manager care about getting you an agent in Los Angeles?
He does. He's actually setting up some meetings
Awesome.
now. Yeah.
Fabulous. So if those don't come out to like you said, quantity over quality, let's
Mhm.
pretend you meet them and you're not obsessed. You know you can turn the faucet on again by just doing agent goals again in LA. We have a great big list there
Exactly.
too, right? And then the other part that I wanted to advocate for you is remember you're new in town and that is sexy. That is
Oh.
sexy to people. That is like, oh, she doesn't know anybody yet. Oh, it's my first time seeing her. So we want those impressions to be great. That isn't to put Olympic pressure on you when I say that. I say that on the day the
Mhm.
Olympics start. I think they start tonight. But what I mean by that is they got to fall in love with your acting. They got to fall in love with your acting. They got to fall in love with your acting. So in the first tapes that you're getting requested by your manager for auditions,
Mhm.
really take the time, maybe a little more than you normally would, to make sure that your Cellina's really coming through in those tapes. So whether that, and I'm sure you do this already for your auditions, but just have planted the seed is this is the first time they're meeting me.
Yeah.
We want them to be like, oh, where has she been? We want that reaction. We don't want the reaction, book her for this job. Sure, that's great, but we want the where has she been? So we want to just live into that piece of it. And so to me, what that means is probably working with a coach, finding someone who's really making sure put on tape beautifully. The tapes are really excellent. That's the best you can do for that kind of positioning of yourself. That's one thing.
Mhm.
And then the other, and this is something we're already working on, I think, in the work that we do in the other program you joined me for, which is just staying in touch with anybody you meet. We got to stay in touch. Yeah. What was that? What was that little shrug? Are you not good at that?
Yeah, there are a couple of thank yous I have to send.
Great. Okay, great.
But
Let's get on
yeah,
those thank
I've
yous.
yeah.
Yeah. And then the last piece that I'll tell you is that if you haven't done this already, I would
Mhm.
100% anybody move into a new city or new market. I always say find a great acting class that is reputable and recognized by casting directors and agents in that city and join it as soon as you can. Two
Okay.
reasons. One, you just want to see what people are doing in class and what kind of materials going on, not to mess up your system of your own technique, right?
Mhm.
And you want to have that community of people who are auditioning. So to me, if
Mm,
you need suggestions of, you can ask me for that. I can talk about that. But I want you to look for an acting studio where the people in the room are booking the jobs that you want.
mm. Okay.
So I want to have a room where you feel a little bit like, oh, okay, like you're looking like I gotta live up to my great acting because the person next to me is getting the kind of jobs I want. So you're not intimidated. That's not the word I want, but
Mhm.
called forth to really do what Cellina can do to do her best. Does that make sense when I say it that way?
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
completely makes sense. I
And
don't want to be lazy, like complacent,
yes,
so that makes sense. You want
yeah,
people
you
who
should be
who
in
can
an acting
come.
class where once in a while you don't have a good class. If
Yeah.
every class is great, then it's not. And then the other thing is, you guys, people might hate me for this. Cold reading is not a skill. It just, unless you're doing commercials. Very rarely do my clients who book guest stars and series regulars and recurring guest stars, even co-stars, say, yes, I had to cold read my audition. So I understand there could be an acting class where they use cold reading to get you material, but you don't need to become, by the way, if you want to be in a sport where things happen fast, go join the Indy 500. Acting is not about being fast.
Mm.
Can you have more facility with scripts because you're auditioning all the time? Totally. That totally can happen. So to me, you really want to be in a class where you get the script a few days before, or a couple days before, or the day before. The script is something you would normally audition for, that kind of world. So just kind of noticing that. And then the other two things that I look for in an acting class is, first, are the people in the room booking the jobs you want? Don't go down. So like if the people in the room are booking co-stars and you want guest stars, then that's not your room. I want to make sure that's clear.
Gotcha.
Number two is the teacher talking about your voice and your body? Because a lot
Mm,
of teachers can bail on that. And to me, that's a sign of someone like not doing the full job of the acting teacher. And are they talking about how your type intersects with the scene?
mm,
And so, Selena, you might know this stuff already, but in LA, you're going to see a lot more classes. So I'm just making sure that if you need some support with that, we can keep the conversation going. But hopefully
mm.
that'll be, and because all the classes are online, Selena,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
February.
Yeah.
Let's get you into acting class now. It's time. It's time. It's time. It's
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And truthfully, some of these acting classes would allow you to bring your auditions in class to work on. So that would be great for you too.
Okay.
Anything else you're thinking about LA that you need some stuff? Any coaching from Brian?
Um, I think what you said was really interesting because I always thought being new in town was kind of like, oh no, she doesn't know what she's doing. But I like that. that, the sexy new thing, but in a good way.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
um, but I guess it's just like you said. I guess just creating your network of other actors who can support each other. I think
Yeah.
this agent goals is really the first step because I'm still
I
in
love that.
contact with people.
Are some of them in LA?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Awesome. That is awesome. Good. Good, good, good.
yeah.
The people that you're great. That's awesome. Yeah. And the reason why I think a class is so important, like a class like Agent Goals, like you're connected with, that's great. You've got that
Mhm,
community. The acting class is for you to, out of the corner of your eye, not in a competitive or comparison mode. So I got to use compare in the normal way, not in the you're being mean to yourself way, is
mhm,
to go, okay, I see what she's doing and my tapes aren't that good yet. Let me
mm,
see let me work on what I'm doing here. And not to be that you're never like good at acting. This is to say there's always room a little bit, I think, for getting better, right?
yeah.
And so this is a space where you can be a little called to I'm on my toes a little bit in this acting class. I feel like I got to do my homework, right? I want that to be your experience
Yeah.
so that that part of your actor feels facile. You have facility with those tools inside yourself. So, yeah. Great. Anything else you need to say before we call it a day here on this podcast, just about your experience? Anything? I don't want to leave anything unsaid if there's something you need to say.
Um, no, I think you covered all of it. I want to say thank you. Big thank you. Years in the making, and it finally happened, and I happened perfect timing. I feel so ready for it. Um, and I know it's part of, everything that we had to work on. But yeah, it's just I just feel really good.
Good.
So
I love that's my
it's
goal. I love this.
that's
So we
it.
cannot wait to see you in LA. And I just want to, thank you for coming on here and sharing your experience. I hope that any actors who's listening really kind of saw yourself in Cellina's skepticism, in her earlier struggle, in her success. That your success is so well deserved, Selena. You poured your heart and soul into this, even in the moments when you're like, I don't even understand what this has to do with anything, but I'll do it anyway, even in those moments. And I think one of the things that I want to just acknowledge in you and in anyone is there's so much work that has to go on in the dark when no one else is around
Mhm.
when it comes to being an actor, working on the script, understanding the character, working on your email, working on preparing for a meeting, all of that stuff. And just, I see you is what I'm what's wanting you to hear me say. Like, I see you,
Oh,
and I'm so glad that it paid off in this beautiful relationship. And it's always great to hear from students who've had success, also any experience that they've had. But you don't have to tell me anything. So I appreciate you coming here and telling me the whole story. It means a lot to me. So thank you so much. If anyone wants to follow your journey, where can they look to follow you?
yes, they can follow me. I'm only on Instagram.
Great. Me
At
too. Well, I guess I'm on
Good.
YouTube. Wait, that's a lie. Sorry, you guys. That's a lie. I'm trying to do other things, but you go ahead, Celine. Go ahead.
I'm on Instagram at Cellina Munro. That's CELLINAMUNRO. If there are any dashes, underscores, any extra letters, that's not me. There, there are imposter accounts out there.
Okay,
That's
good.
not
Stay
me.
away. What she's saying is stay
Stay away.
away. They'll be asking you to
Stay
join
away.
the Cash App or something.
Right.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Lena. I really appreciate our time together today.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Brian.
For sure.